Hey guys, my name is Todian. I'm a pianist and I tour around the world playing my own music. Super thankful to be doing this, and I'll be coming to Mumbai later this year in November. So I'm super excited to meet my audiences in India. And you're listening to Stalwarts of Music right now.
Hi, Tony. Namaste. Welcome to Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera Season 4. It is such an honor to have you on this show, and I must also especially thank NMACC for facilitating this, a pioneering effort in a country like India. We've had over 400 exemplary musicians on this podcast. We've had people like Bob James, the Chick Corea Electric Band, Ibrahim Malouf, and last night we had Brian Bromberg and uh, excellent range of artists who've graced the show. It's the second year in a row of my association with them, and you are just adding to the legacy of the show by
Thank you for
taking
having me.
time out and joining. Thank you so much once again.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, and thank you so much for having me.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I do not want to do like a standard interview where I
Hmm.
put forth questions. So I mean it's more of a casual interaction, a very different format from some of the interviews you must have been a part of. So I'd like to
Hmm.
start this discussion with the fact that the performance aspect, right? So your performances start with quiet, intimate phrases and then bloom into sweeping, powerful climaxes. If one were to
Hmm.
listen to it, so how intentional is that arc? And do you design it structurally beforehand, or does it emerge in the
Yeah.
moment out of spontaneity for someone like you?
Yeah, so for a lot of my compositions, it starts actually all of it starts with improvising on the piano.
Okay.
And I would say there's no intended form or phrasing
Hmm.
while I'm improvising, right? The music kind of just goes wherever it goes.
Right.
So for me, I think naturally I do prefer pieces that, develop and kind of have sections of loud and soft just to contrast.
Mm.
So I think maybe subconsciously there's a form in
Mm.
place,
Mm.
even without me trying to think about the form. So I would say yes and no. When I'm composing, I'm not specifically composing within a structure or form, but I would say, just naturally, all the music that I listened to growing up, it has this, structure of, you
Right.
know, uh, like build-ups and developments. So it probably plays a part in the whole creative process as well.
Based on what you just said, right? It can be
Yeah.
seen in terms of the 360-degree Zodiac project, which
Mm,
sort of translates personality traits into the foundation when it comes to rhythm,
yeah.
harmony, and melody, right? So, what was the
Mm,
most surprising connection you uncovered between an astrological
mm.
archetype along with a musical choice that you put forth, Tony?
Yeah, so for me, the 360 album, as you said, is all about star signs and horoscopes.
Okay.
And the challenge with this project was trying to, bring out certain qualities and characteristic traits. Like
Mm.
Cancer is known to be hospitable, Pisces, they're known to be artistic, and Leo, they're known to be strong and fierce.
Okay.
So some characteristics are a bit easier to portray using music, like Leo was a bit more simple
Okay.
than Taurus, because some signs it's more ambiguous.
Mm.
It's not really some are not as easy, and also some signs like water elements,
Mm.
it's a bit easier to bring those out. And I try to bring out certain water signs like Pisces using like arpeggios to mimic the flow of water
Wow.
and their way of adaptation. So it was a fun project, and
Mm.
it was a bit of a challenge.
Mm.
But I feel like star signs and music have so much in common, because music is all about trying to show emotion and make people feel things. Ultimately, that's the goal of a musician. It's not trying to play the right notes, it's trying to make people feel what you're playing. And
Mm.
star signs is really about the uniqueness of each element, sign. So I really want to take on this challenge of, trying to portray the star signs and do my best and
Hmm.
trying to, bring out the qualities.
You seem to have quite some knowledge about star signs. When did that fascination start for you?
Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't say I'm an astrologer. I'm not as knowledgeable as some people. It's more of like a curiosity thing for me, So
Okay.
when I was in high school, I used to read the daily newspaper
Mm,
on, what was going on for Aquarius because I'm an Aquarius. And if there was like a good friend of mine, I would read theirs as well.
mm,
So it was always a fascinating topic. And
right.
in 2023, I was thinking about, what concept can I do, for my next project. And I thought about a few things. And star signs I felt was a topic that I wouldn't say it's been used before. I mean, I'm sure someone has written some music to star signs, but
Mm,
not a subject as popular as like the seasons. That's been done by Tchaikovsky and a few others,
right.
Vivaldi. So the star sign, it was a teenage curiosity of mine.
Mm.
And in 2023, when I was thinking about, what can I do, I thought about doing the star signs. Yeah,
It kind of takes me to the parallel world of what Ludovico Einaudi did in terms of the whole association with the periodic table. Did you listen to that album?
I did not.
It's
Mm,
parallel. It's I wouldn't say
interesting.
the same idea, but like a very different world altogether.
Mm,
But he's kind of taken the elements of the periodic table as part of
mm,
his solo album. Yeah,
it's clever. It's clever.
yeah,
I actually just saw him I saw him last Thursday. I met him.
lovely.
Uh, it was good. I'm not sure if you played anything from that album you're talking about, but it was a good
Okay,
experience for sure.
right on, right on. Nice. Well, in terms of this whole trilogy, right?
Mm,
I saw from the information that I gathered after listening to it, this emotionally blue, orange, red. Each of these mirror different emotional
mm,
landscapes, right? So, what discoveries did you make about the relationship between color, mood, and music
mm.
while composing it? During the entire process.
Yeah. So for me, colors is also a very closely related thing to music,
Mm,
because it's subjective. When we see certain colors, we feel some are more objective than others. Like, when someone says, I'm feeling blue, it's a pretty objective thing. Someone's a little bit, energy levels are a bit low. When you see red, it can mean ambition, desire, it can mean passion, it can mean love as well. So
mm,
for me, I wanted to group pieces that matched the colors the best. So first of all, I thought about, a bunch of different colors and
okay.
I picked three that was most visual
Mm,
and most emotion provoking. So blue was obvious, orange was one of the latter ones, but red was very obvious as well because there's a piece called Love in there. There's a piece called Desire, Pulse, which all kind of relate to the heart and emotion.
mm,
And for blue, it was pieces that was a little bit more less optimistic,
okay.
ones that were more emotionally, I wouldn't say sad, but something that was closer to sad than happy, because you have pieces like Lost. Yeah. So you have a piece called Grief,
Hmm.
which is my personal favorite from
Right.
the entire trilogy. And then for Orange, I grouped five pieces that was a bit more optimistic, hopeful,
Mm,
ones that felt a bit more peaceful. So you have a song called Serene, you have a
right.
piece called Bliss, Hope. So it's all a bit more optimistic.
Mm,
And for Red, I wanted to move into a more climactic realm. So you have pieces like Desire has a gigantic climax. You have pieces like Pulse, which is more up tempo.
Mm.
And you also have pieces that, you know, feels more a bit more romantic and in the world of love. So, it was, with the concept stuff, there's a bit more thinking involved. When I actually write the music, it's really there's not much thinking involved. It's really all through improvisation.
Mm. It's very interesting, right? Like the narrative that you've built over the years, and you've created this identity for yourself. And I like such interesting artists. You have people like, in a similar landscape, you have people like Nick Bach, who does something with modules as his conceptual framework. Any album you listen to, he names his songs as module number 032, module number 612, right? So I
Mm,
love the whole identity that you've built and this conceptual framework that you've created, right? So what I'm
mm,
interested in knowing is a lot of your work is theme driven. So how does having a conceptual framework shape the
mm,
compositional side of things for you?
mm. I love that question. So let's take the star sign, for example, right?
Mm,
So I came up with the concept first, and it greatly affects the way I write the music because for something so visual and so representative, the music needs to match the song title, right? So when I was writing, say, a piece like Leo, there's no way I was going to write a piece that was timid, soft, nothing like that, because Leo, it's a very visual thing, the animal is a lion, represents a lion.
right.
They're fierce leaders. Uh, so the piece needed to carry those qualities,
Mm,
and for a piece like, let's see, for a piece like Pisces, visually they're represented by two fish,
okay.
and in the on the album, the nickname is the artist.
Mm-hmm.
It's a water element, so I needed the music to feel like water at times, and that's where I was talking about, the arpeggios,
Mm,
and I wanted it to be very melodic, you know,
okay. Okay.
versus a sign like Aries, the animal's a ram. So, for the piece Aries, they're a fire sign, animal's a ram. So the music had to represent the animal, the element.
Mm,
So I wanted to start the piece, and throughout the whole piece, it's just 16th notes, and it doesn't really stop. So the energy is really constantly there. So it was kind of like, it's not saying it's film scoring, but in a way, I have a theme, I have an idea, I have a picture in my head, and I need to represent the picture as best as I can using the language of music.
mm,
And in a way, composing like this it's a different way of composing than just straight up improvising, because when I'm improvising with no theme in mind or picture, you just sit down and play whatever you want. But, for the concept of star signs, I couldn't just, play whatever I wanted. I
mm.
needed to improvise within a certain structure. It's a challenge for sure, but it was a fun overall process for sure. Yeah.
Right, right. And when it comes to the performance aspect, how important is the visual aid along with the music for you?
Well, when we go to concerts, the visual element is huge,
Hmm.
and unless you're going to like a classical piano, like solo, a classical piano
Right.
or a symphony orchestra, there's no visuals there. But if you go to like a pop piano show or any pop concert, you have the visual component, you have the lighting, you have the lasers, you have the fog,
Mm.
and it greatly influences the way that people listen and feel your music. So for the 360s, the star signs, we have certain techniques we do with the lights, and then in the background, there's
Okay.
visual components that help bring out, or visual components that help the audience feel the piece easier.
Mm.
Because if you didn't have lights, you didn't have visuals, the audience needs to completely use their imagination a little more. When you have certain elements like lights, when you display certain images or videos, it's more subjective what the audience should feel, you
Right.
know, and it's more in line with what the composer is, what emotions the composer intends the audience to feel, you know. So it's
Mm,
huge. The visual element is almost as important as the music, I feel.
mm. Talking about the songs, if I had to kind of analyze them, a few of the songs repeat and develop a single motive rather than diverging into complex or say contrasting sections. Like you
Mm.
try to maintain that simplicity with the right delicate balance. So what draws you to this motive driven form, and how do you keep it from feeling static if one
Mm.
had to listen to it?
So for me, like let's take a song like Lost,
Mm.
you know. There's no real melody there. It's mainly just, you know, arpeggios descending, you know, broken chords, and then the main melody or theme, it's really just a repeating four note phrase, you know, which isn't really a melody. So what I do to kind of not make the piece stagnant or feel still and not moving is the use of dynamics, the use of the range of the piano.
Mm.
You know, it's kind of like, you know, um, I think of the piano as an orchestra, and the different registers of the piano are like different instruments, you know. Like the lower sections below middle C, you can think of that as the brass section.
Okay.
The section around, you know, above middle C, you can either think as the woodwinds, strings, whatever. You know, so if I were to repeat a phrase four times, I wouldn't repeat it in the same register. You would
Mm.
repeat it in different registers. Maybe the first time you do, you know, single notes, and then when you repeat it, you can do it on octaves, and then again you can do broken octaves, third, sixth. So there are different techniques you can utilize, and these are techniques that I borrow and learned from, you know, my time and like years of learning classical music, classical piano.
Right.
So, you know, what you can do to not make a piece feel stagnant is, you know, use of different registers on the piano, or you can play with dynamics. You know,
Mm. Mm.
if you repeat a section, it should never be identical, you know, because that's boring. Or you can play around with the form, you know.
Mm. Mm.
You can take certain notes, certain fragments of a motif, and use that to create a new section, you
Right.
know.
Right.
But I would say I focus a lot on melody because melody is the thing that people latch onto most.
Mm-hmm.
A certain of my pieces, like Icarus, there's that main melody, you have a second melody, and then you have like a bridge section. But for me, form is key for this. You know, form and the way you construct
Mm.
is the number one thing. But then again, you know, my pieces are not like giant architects like the classical composers did. Theirs is another level of, you know, architecture, you know. But for a 3 minute piece, if you don't want 3 minutes of the same mood, you know, because I know a lot of the sleep friendly meditation piano music,
Okay.
it's it's pretty plain, you know, there's no real movement, development. But for the stuff that I make, I like to think of it as a bit more cinematic.
Mm.
So I want there to be different levels of emotion, dynamic, loud, soft, fast, slow. So I just, you know, add as much variety in there as I can.
I must admire your approach of considering performance as a form of relaxation, right?
Mm.
And from what I gathered, you even once mentioned that you don't feel stage fright, right? So do you
Yeah.
think that this much of ease on stage is a product of preparation, or is it the mindset, or a deeper philosophy in terms of trust in your music?
I think it's a combination of things.
Okay.
Definitely feeling confident with your set list is important.
Mm.
And number two, it's the mindset, you know, because some people they feel stage fright probably because they're intimidated by the audience, or they're, you know, concerned about what if something happens, what if this happens or whatever.
Right.
For me, I think of performance as it's a celebration, you know.
Mm.
It's nothing more than a celebration, you know.
Right.
Unless you're going to like a music audition or something. It's not a celebration, it's just totally different situation. But for my concerts, there's zero reason to ever feel nervous. People are spending, up to 2 hours of their evening with you,
Hmm.
so this is a good thing. Stage fright only happens when you think of the bad things, but when you perform, it's really nothing but good. You're
Hmm.
sharing music, you're trying to communicate music, make people feel emotion, and ultimately it's an opportunity for me to meet my audiences. But then again, you definitely need a certain level of fluency on an instrument to obtain that level of relaxed quality. Because if I was say, I don't know, if I learned the violin for 6 months
Right.
or 1 year and I had to perform like a few months after that, I probably wouldn't be as relaxed as piano because I'll be thinking more about, the right notes, trying to bring out the emotion. But the piano at this time is just like it's just really muscle memory. It's zero effort almost because I trained so much.
Hmm. Hmm. Yet another trend that I have noticed among a lot of young pianists is their obsession over routine and practice structure, right? Whereas,
Hmm.
you do something of another contrast, right? Where you downplay rituals before performing. So, what role do you think discipline should play versus curiosity and playfulness in shaping an artist's growth?
Well, the discipline is first it depends what the goal of someone is. If someone wants to play piano or an instrument
Hmm.
for fun as a hobby,
Right.
discipline isn't as important. But if someone is very serious about doing it professionally or doing anything, acting, dancing, singing, whatever, discipline is heavily needed. I think of practice as like it's like athletes.
Hmm.
You know, we need to go through certain training to obtain certain skills. And the training at times can be very boring, very lonely, but that's when discipline is needed, to be like, hey, Tony, I know, doing 2 hours of scales every day is super boring, but you'll thank yourself in 15 years, you
Right.
know?
Right.
So that's the discipline is very, very important. And curiosity, of course, we need to not always learn by the book. We need to learn, you know, from curiosity and just things that we want to learn. There are certain things we need to learn, certain things we want to learn. So for me, I needed to learn classical music to get the technique, to
Hmm.
get the sound, the posture, everything, to get the education. And then my curiosity kicked in with pop music,
Okay.
learning about hookiness and the melodies, learning about the simplicity of harmony. So that's what the book didn't teach me. And improvising, I really learned on my own. Classical music it taught me most when it comes to technique. So, discipline is so important. Um, but curiosity is also very important. The two of them kind of go hand in hand, you know. Yeah.
Right on. This particular idea of having grown, I believe you were in Beijing and Toronto, and you were trained at Berkeley, and if we look at your music, right, it reflects both the multicultural aspects of having lived in two of these places, and of course the classical foundations add to it, right? So how do you feel your cultural background informs your voice as a pianist and composer today? How much of it do you add to the music?
Yeah. So I was born in Beijing, but I moved to Toronto when I was 6. So I can't say
Okay.
culturally I'm that influenced by Chinese culture, but yeah, I mean Toronto, there's a huge community,
Right.
Chinese community. So
Right.
I'm influenced. But ultimately, the sound and the music that I make, it's a combination of my classical technique,
Mm.
My years of, classical training, plus my love of pop music and the simplicity of harmony and melody.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where pieces like Icarus come into play. The melody is
Yeah.
pretty simple. Um, 6-year-old can learn it in like 30 minutes.
Hmm.
Harmony is very simple, but then the technical side isn't really as easy as you think. A left hand isn't, I wouldn't say it's easy to play, but this is why discipline and classical training is so important because if I didn't do all those years in classical music, I would be more limited with how can I accompany a melody, you know, because I have options. The more music that you learn, the more music that you practice and study, the more you have in your toolbox, right?
Mm.
So for Icarus, I could have accompanied the melody using block chords. I can do it using arpeggios. I can do it using, I don't know, octaves. I don't know. There's so many things I could have done with it.
Mm. Mm.
But my sound is really the combination of my training in classical music and my love of pop music. I wouldn't say
Mm. Mm.
the culture really affects my music. Like
Okay.
living in Canada, but then again, it probably it did affect me because living in Canada, it exposed me to American music, English music.
Mm.
So yeah, in that way, it has affected me. But Canadian culture or Chinese culture, I wouldn't say it really has affected my sound too much.
Okay. You've also said that you rarely edit a piece after you first write
Mm,
it, right? So, do you view
yeah.
that first version as the truest emotional snapshot? And what do you feel might be lost if you revisit it and restructure it
Mm.
later, which a lot of musicians tend to, right?
Yeah, so the first version that we make, I believe it comes completely from an emotional standpoint, and it comes completely from an inspirational standpoint.
Okay.
That is if you were composing
Hmm.
not from like for the most part, yes, because sometimes if someone is dealing with writer's block, they're just like forcing themselves to write that. That's not good at all.
Hmm.
But for me, when I put my phone down and I'm improvising and I have something very special, that that moment of inspiration is completely from the heart, completely from emotion, not from my brain, not from intellect at all. You know, I'm not composing in that moment. The music is really just flowing out naturally.
Hmm.
You know, it's like a gift. I think of it as like a gift, you know. But what I also think is we're often most excited about a piece of music the minute we write it, right? And then sometimes, if we listen to it the next day, the emotion's gone. We don't feel the same way about the piece of music. We're like, why was I so excited about this piece? It's actually not that good. So what I tend to do is I don't let the excitement during the moment of creation affect how good a song is. You know what I mean? If I like something in the moment, I'll record it
Hmm.
and then I'll forget about it, come back to it in like a week or two. And if I still like it, then I know I have something special.
Hmm.
Because when you forget about it and you listen to it again, you're kind of listening to it from an outside perspective.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like when we listen to music for the first time, from like a new artist or, if someone you like has a new song out, the first time you listen to it and the first impression
Hmm.
is not always as strong. And we often need 2 or 3 more listens to a song to actually like it.
Correct.
Do you know what I mean? But then again, there are also songs that you listen to for the first time and you just absolutely love it the second you listen to it. So for me, when I listen back to my voice memos, I only finish the ones that give me that feeling. Like I listen to it right away and I'm like, oh, that's really good. Those are the pieces that I finish. There's like hundreds of things that I won't complete because it doesn't give me that instant excitement when I listen back to it.
So that's a pretty cool approach, right? Yeah, you just have one foundation set, and then you don't kind of brood over it, and it's a very different approach. I have not seen a lot of artists do it this way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I know a lot of songwriters, they rework lyrics,
yeah,
and I get it. There's millions of ways you can say
correct.
a sentence or a feeling. So
Yeah.
lyrics are a bit, for me, it's there's more editing involved with lyrics. But for music, it's so vague and it's so subjective. It's like you're never gonna find the perfect set of notes where chords are more easy to please.
Hmm.
But for melody, it's really for me, if a melody is simple but complicated, it works for me.
Hmm.
Because I don't want to compose things that are overly simple. But then again, I don't want to compose things that are like so complex. You need to be like a trained musician to digest it, because that's not what I'm
Hmm.
trying to do.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't really rework my
Okay.
things. The recording takes a bit of time for me. Recording is really the part that I find most frustrating and tedious. The composing, when
Hmm.
you're inspired, it's very easy and it happens really fast. The recording is really the part that's most technical and time consuming.
Hmm. Hmm. Doing this, repeatedly across like songs and albums, do you find that you're drawn towards certain chord progressions or harmonic colors that you're repeatedly drawn towards in terms of them opening an emotional or a psychological space for you?
Yeah, so definitely I love the pop progressions, The
Mm.
the harmonic elements, I don't as of now, I'm not diving too deep in the world of chromaticism or
Okay.
chords that don't belong in the key. Like I'll use, secondary dominants and stuff, but that's not really super crazy. Like I'm not trying to, throw in tritone substitutions and like chromatic tensions. I'm not in that world yet,
Okay.
not yet. But for now, the chords that I am drawn to most is standard pop progressions that you find
Mm.
in electronic dance music or something that Adele uses, John Legend.
Mm.
So the chords are familiar to a lot of people, when they listen to, certain pieces. It's reminiscent of pop culture, and that's where my love of pop music comes into play, the harmony. But then, there's certain I think for me there's two. There's more of the cinematic progression kind of stuff that Hans Zimmer uses, and you can find pieces and harmonic progressions in pieces like mine, like Lost
Mm.
or Time, or pieces like none
I
from
think even
360.
car
Um,
alarm has like a similar
mm,
idea, right?
yes, yes, yes. Right, right. Car Alarm.
Yeah.
And then you have like more of the pop progression in pieces like Four Letters, or pieces like Pisces. It uses like a very Adele progression. Um, so yeah, those are the progressions I'm drawn to most for sure. Pop progressions.
Okay. Well, speaking about car alarm, this improvisation when you layer multiple layers of piano, right? So, how do you think
Mm,
about texture and density, and what's your guiding principle to deciding as to adding more voices versus letting silence or sparseness carry the piece forward?
Well, for a lot of the 360 pieces, I layer chords and I double melodies.
Mm,
Like for let's see, like let's just take for Cancer, for instance, there's a section with flowing 16th note passages, and the left hand is just doing, arpeggios. I felt that wasn't enough, so I did another piano layer of just, solid block chords. So that is to, kind of add some reinforcement to kind of treat piano recording more like a symphony, you
mm,
know. Like for Icarus, there's in the bridge, if you listen to the actual recording, you can't play that note for note on a real piano because, we only have two hands. But in the actual recording, you would need another pair of hands to play everything that's going on. And that, well, I don't think many people do that. When people record piano, it's really just whatever your two hands can play.
Mm.
But I treat piano recording like production almost. You know what I mean? And it's
Right.
not that the more you add, the better. I do believe more is less.
Mm.
What's simple works the best. But sometimes
Okay.
just adding one note can bring a different side of emotion to a
Mm.
piece,
Mm.
you know? So you're not necessarily complicating the piece.
Right.
You're just figuring out subtle ways of making it even better. And some pieces it works, sometimes it doesn't. But going back to your question regarding silence and rest,
Mm.
the silence and rest is as important as the note. A part in a piece of music that allows the audience to breathe, right? Because every piece of music you can't have like 3 minutes of constant action. It's just too much. But rest is really the hardest thing to write in a piece of music because it's
Mm.
about the phrasing as well, you know.
Right. If we had to delve deeper into your technique, right, in terms of pianistic touch and how the structure of your music flows, it alternates between a fluid legato lines and a lot of sharp accent points, right? So, do you consciously map articulation to emotional characters in the piece, or that's also instinctual uh, when it comes to your process?
Yeah, well, for classical piano, there's a variety of touches you can do to bring out, certain articulations or moods.
Mm,
Like, for example, when you play Bach, Glenn Gould had so many different ways he played the piano.
mm,
But for me, I don't think I automatically draw, from, you know, like pianistic touch. Like, when you do legato, you have to play a certain way. When you play hard, you got to lift your fingers up. I'm not really like thinking of that stuff,
okay.
but definitely, when I'm doing legato octaves, for example, like legato octaves, there's a certain technique that you use to do legato octaves, which I learned from, playing, Chopin or, Schubert. So I do borrow from that, but there's also certain things as well, like when I play scales or arpeggios, or if I do broken octaves, keeping your wrist relaxed, your whole entire shoulders relaxed, your forearms relaxed. That's all like technical stuff that I learned from, classical music. So, and my articulation, like for pulse, trying to create a crisp, clean, detached sound. That certain technique of staccato sometimes I do, it is from classical music. So, classical technique has absolutely influenced my playing so much. And, I tell many kids like, you got to learn classical music,
Mm,
because you're not gonna get this technique from improvising. You're not gonna get it from jazz music. You're only gonna get it learning scales, arpeggios, Bach, doing all the boring stuff, and you got to do it for like years and years and years and years. And
mm.
you need a really good teacher.
Right. Let us now talk about the main topic of interest, your NMACC debut,
Mm.
and
Yep.
I'm interested in knowing as to how do you balance giving the audience the comfort of fan favorites with the risk of excitement of a lot of unreleased works which you might be putting forth for
Mm.
the people of my country. And ultimately, what is
Mm.
the biggest goal of this concert for the people of India?
Well, the biggest goal is just to meet the audience. I just want people to, know me a little bit better because I love talking on stage. I love to tell jokes. I love to connect with the culture, you
Okay.
know, because in Toronto there's a huge Indian community. So
Mm.
there's some connection I can talk about, on stage. But and my love of Indian food, love Indian food,
Okay.
one of my top five really. So my goal is just to connect with the audience, play a few unreleased tracks, which I'm very excited about. And how do I balance the risk of, pieces that people know versus pieces that people don't know? Well, there's a section that I do which is just covers. These are very famous pieces. No spoilers, but very popular pieces. But I like to sandwich the lesser known works in between pieces that are exciting and
Mm.
pieces that are more known. And it's kind of psychological as well. When you perform, people are most engaged in the beginning, the first two, three songs.
Okay.
That's when you really have their attention. And if your first three songs are weak, or if you don't engage enough with the audience, then you kind of lose maybe some of them after the third song, which is not good. So for me, it's about playing a mixture of dynamically different pieces.
Okay.
You have to throw in a few covers or pieces that people will recognize, like Icarus. And you also need to like talk to the audience. That's my biggest thing. That's really the best way for audiences to know who you are is to talk to
Mm.
them.
Mm.
And I know a lot of piano concerts, there's no talking. It's really just hello, my name is enjoy. That's really it. But for me, I talk quite a bit, and it's the best form of engagement with the audience.
Amazing. I can't to wait
Mhm.
to witness the concert happening at the Grand Theater.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah, yeah, looking forward to it. And in the interest of time, I'd like to come to the last part of our agenda, which is a quick rapid fire. So, first question for you,
Yep.
Tony. What is that one song that always makes you cry?
Makes me cry. It's actually one of my songs. It's called Grief.
Okay.
And I do a very special version during my shows.
Right.
So that's really the song that makes me cry. Uh, Music doesn't really make me cry as much as TV shows.
Mm. Do you have a favorite guilty pleasure song?
Maybe it's a K-pop song. It's
Okay.
called what is it called? It's called Tic Tac by Islet.
Okay.
It's called Tic Tac or Tac Tac Tiki. It's something like that.
Right.
No,
I don't listen to a lot of K-pop, so my
no,
pardon my knowledge.
okay.
Yeah. What's your favorite cuisine?
Don't say Chinese food.
Okay.
No.
If you had to put together an all-star piano ensemble and you had the superpower of bringing back uh, dead back to life,
Mm.
who would be a part of this dream ensemble of yours?
And how many
That
can I
that's
have?
that's up to you. That's a dream ensemble, right? So
Okay, so there
yeah.
needs to be Liszt,
Uh-huh.
Rachmaninoff.
Okay.
I would throw I would throw Sokolov in there. I would put Lang Lang in there.
Hmm.
I would put Rubinstein in there. I would put Argerich in there. And I would put Bach in there because he's the greatest improviser ever. Yeah.
Wouldn't you like to be a part of it?
No. I'm nowhere near them, so I would not. No.
Right. Right. If you had to describe your experience being on this podcast, how would you describe it?
The questions were very good. This was a very the questions were very, very insightful, very good. And it dived deeper than just, your standard questions. So it was very, very fun. And it was is it gave people a deeper insight as to how I compose, my feelings when I was composing. So it was really good experience for sure.
I'm glad. I'm glad to know that. And one last question to conclude today. Down in the distant horizon, what would you like to be remembered as, Tony?
Hmm. Just someone who is authentic to their art. That's it.
That's
Yep.
a, that's a great answer for a closure. This interview will be aired on Big FM Shillong and Aizawl, two incredible radio stations in the northeastern part of India on the Sunday primetime radio show, and it'll also be out on my YouTube channel, Aditya Veera 1994. I'd like to thank NMACC once again for having given me the opportunity, and of course, Tony, you've taken out a lot of your valuable time to be a part of this. Thank you
No
so much.
problem at
It's
all.
been such an
Yes.
incredible blessing, honor, and a privilege. Take care.
Thank you so much, and I look forward to meeting you and
Yeah,
can't wait to come to India. Thank you
yeah.
so much.
Take care. Bye bye.
Okay, bye bye.